Hey guys, how's it going? Today I just wanted to make a video talking about the biggest reasons that I'm excited to return to World of Warcraft upon the release of WoW Classic. When I started playing Vanilla WoW, it was back in 2005. I was only 10 years old, and I didn't have any real-life friends to play with me in-game until like right before the Burning Crusade. But basically I didn't have a great idea of what I was doing, and I never pushed myself to progress super hard in terms of leveling and gear. I also didn't even know about third-party WoW websites for a large period of time playing vanilla. It wasn't until later on that I learned about the different fan sites like Thoughtbot and WoW Alakazam and stuff like that. So with WoW Classic, I'm definitely excited to get a second shot at one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time. Those early memories of first grouping up with other players, entering Ironforge for the first time, running Dead Mines for the first time, are still just so ingrained in my mind, and I just remember them as really positive, fun and exciting gaming experiences. So this first point, people could argue that it's a double-edged sword. I can definitely see where it has detriments, but also benefits, and that is the fact of me being a quote-unquote adult now. And when I first started playing WoW, it was just on my family's Dell Office PC. We had a non-HD 13-inch, which is really small, a 13-inch monitor. So, back then my time starting to play WoW was much more limited than it is today. And, obviously back then, when you're a kid, you have less responsibilities, you technically have more time to game, and, there's never really an end point as long as you have the free time. Pretty much everything else around you is taken care of. But, when you're playing a game that's sharing a family computer that other people have to use, you have to take that in consideration. Like now I've got my own desktop and everything, so in a way I'll have more opportunities to play at times, when I want to play. But back then I had to account for family members wanting to use the computer or being told to go to bed or whatever. And I do fondly remember, playing Vanilla WoW back then, even with, having used the family PC and stuff. Our computer was set up right next to these double windows, and I just vividly remember how much my immersion improved when, the weather outside matched my location in-game. And in hindsight, I think that one of the reasons I appreciate WoW's real-time day and night cycle so much is because the atmosphere and the lighting from outdoors, it just matches the game perfectly. And whether it was questing in Dun Moreau on the night of a snow day, or exploring the Barrens to get out of the summer heat, the real-world atmosphere could really add a lot to the gameplay experience. And while I do have really fond memories of sitting in that room as a kid, my setup now is way better. Thankfully, during the Burning Crusade, I got my first desktop PC, which was a great pre-built gaming PC. It was a Dell XPS 420, along with a monitor that I still use to this day. It's a 24-inch 1080p Dell monitor. And since then, I have a VR-ready PC that runs great. I've got a laptop now. I've got a nice keyboard and microphone set up. And if Vanilla WoW could run on PCs back in 2004, I imagine WoW Classic will do incredibly well on a wide range of modern computers. And also, now that I'm older, I'm actually more knowledgeable about WoW and where to find the best talent tree guides or whatever resources I need to build a great character or help myself in game. It should be much easier to join a guild with good progression as well, since I remember a lot of guilds advertising back then 18 plus only or whatever. Another thing that I'm excited about that has to do with getting older is being able to play WoW with way more friends than I was originally able to. I had a few friends that played WoW back in the day. Maybe one started playing during vanilla, excluding any free trials or anything like that. And another good friend joined in the Burning Crusade, and I ended up leveling an alt character with like 7 to 10 real life friends in middle school during Wrath of the Lich King. And that's another thing. In order to play with friends at the same level, we all had to make alts on the same server because, you know, we didn't know each other before that point, so we never like started WoW at the same time and got to coordinate what faction we're going to be on, what server we're going to play on, and stuff like that. So I've still never played at the max level with real life friends. I mean, you know, not very much. I've done some small things, but I've never had like a group of raiding buddies or anything like that, sadly. But now I'm much more optimistic about having multiple friends to play with, since we are all college aged or starting to get out of school. And I know that no one's parents are going to turn down the $15 a month cost, or you know, however WoW Classic ends up being paid for. And probably nobody will be held back by having 2 weeks of a PC, or having their time cut because they're on a family PC. Many of my close friends that would have loved to play WoW but never got a chance to are going to be able to give the original experience a try. And from my lifetime of playing games, I have to say that one of the biggest factors contributing to a game's enjoyment is if you're playing with friends. Even during dull and monotonous moments, or having a game that's maybe not even built that well, just having friends to talk to and goof around with will drastically improve the gameplay experience. Especially setting up an old school LAN party where, you know, everyone has computers and monitors in one room. It's just a fun time. Another thing that I'm extremely excited for in WoW Classic is raiding. This was one of the biggest things that drew me to WoW originally, and just how much teamwork and cooperative play existed. I'd never really seen anything like that in a game before. Before playing WoW, I was playing RuneScape, and while that was technically an MMO, at least at the low level, there was no group combat or raids or any opportunity really to work with other players outside of trading. So when I heard that WoW had 5-man dungeons or 20 to 40 person raids, I was immediately hooked. And while I understand why Blizzard has lowered the number of people for a raid after vanilla in future expansions, it definitely takes away some of the epicness and the massively multiplayer feel of the world. You know, when a game goes from having 40-man endgame content to just 25 to 20-man endgame content. The concept of up to 40 people organizing together at the same time to kill these massive bosses like Ragnaros and Onyxia is still so awesome to me. It's just like the largest and most well-organized game of Dungeons & Dragons of all time. Sadly, I never reached level 60 until the Burning Crusade was out, so I've never participated in any vanilla raids, except for going back to do them in future expansions. Not only will I be excited to participate in the sheer scale of these raids, but also the raids themselves were legendary. You know, killing these giant bosses and getting awesome loot, it's just fun. And you know, those endgame, those first, you know, tier 1 through 3 endgame gear sets are still so iconic to me, and probably like my favorite WoW armor of all time. World PvP is another thing that I'm really looking forward to. When I originally played on vanilla, I had mistakenly assumed that players on PvP servers weren't interested in raiding, so I played on a PvE server since I thought that's what I'd be enjoying the most. And sadly, I missed out on a lot of fun World PvP encounters that players on PvP servers would have had. And after flying mounts were introduced with the Burning Crusade, World PvP as a whole has kind of fallen out of retail, where most players never run into each other on foot, but they just end up flying point to point to avoid any confrontation. And this is really sad, and I think when Blizzard first introduced flying mounts, they only thought about the positive aspects and the benefits of it. But looking back, I would be surprised if Blizzard didn't regret that decision, because I think it really did drastically affect how players interact with the world and how players interact with each other as well. Last but not least, I want to talk about why I'm excited for user-created online content about WoW Classic. Back when I started playing WoW, there was almost no online content available on it. And in fact, YouTube had just come online that same month that I had started playing WoW. There were no streaming websites for gaming, and the only real site with WoW videos was Warcraft movies, which didn't really have any commentary videos. It was mostly just machinima or PvP montages set to popular early 2000s rock or nu metal songs. If I wanted to see WoW from any other perspective at that time, I just had to hope that it would pop up on G4 TV, which I do remember seeing it mentioned on Attack of the Show, and I think I first heard out about WoW after seeing the episode of Cheat, which focused on the game. But back then, there were no online personalities and not many media outlets to learn about WoW. And I am super nostalgic for the time before YouTube and everything, but for WoW Classic, I'll definitely be glad to share my experience of the game through videos and streaming. My first gaming video on YouTube was me filming my monitor with a digital camera and power leveling people through the dead mines on my hunter. And with WoW Classic's release, we will gain access to thousands of hours of 4K footage of people celebrating and sharing the game, and I think that that's just fantastic, and that people still care about the original experience all these years later. It's an awesome feeling. That's gonna wrap it up for this video, and I'd love to see your guys' reasons for wanting to either return to Classic WoW when it comes out, or if it's your first time, why you're interested in checking it out, or if you'd just like to share some World of Warcraft stories. I'd definitely like to read those as well. As always, guys, see you next time.